Hello, happy World IA Day. I'm Peter Morville, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the first National Scientific Conference and first World Information Architecture Day event in Poland. I'm speaking to you from Ann Arbor, Michigan, where things are warming up after a few days in the icy grip of a polar vortex. If you listen carefully, you may hear the drip, drip, drip of snow melting into water. It's a hopeful sound, reminding us that spring and summer are on the way. Last year, I visited Poland for the first time. I spent a few lovely days in Krakow at the invitation of Dr. Stanislaw Skorka, who will be speaking to you next. And I talked with the faculty and students of several Polish universities where information architecture programs are just beginning. It's thrilling to be there at the start. The birth of a person or a discipline reminds us anything is possible. That's how I felt in the early 1990s as the internet grew into the World Wide Web and as we built what became known as the field of information architecture. We were so excited by the potential of the internet to enable people all around the world to help one another by creating and sharing knowledge. That's the vision that inspired us to build the world's first information architecture consulting firm and to write the first book on the subject in 1998. The title was Information Architecture for the World Wide Web, but you may know it as the Polar Bear book. It's still around, and the fourth edition is up to date, but the polar bear, like me, is old. So what's next for this old discipline we call information architecture? You may be hoping I'll talk about artificial intelligence. And while it's true, AI can't succeed without IA, that's not the subject of this talk. You may think I'm going to talk about the Internet of Things, or voice UI, or virtual reality, but I won't. They're interesting and relevant, but get too much attention already. Instead, I'll tell you about a couple of projects I'm working on today. First, I'm consulting for Fortune 500. It's one of the biggest, most successful companies in the world and operates an enormously profitable e-commerce operation. But its information architecture is abysmal. It's a mess. I've noticed at this company, many of the people are older than I. They have experience, but they never received an education in information architecture. And that's a problem. Second, I'm consulting for a startup that succeeded. It's one of the most successful private companies in the world. It has a high-tech vibe and a young workforce. And guess what? Its information architecture is also a mess. Now, these young clients have all read the Polar Bear book. They have the education, but they suffer due to lack of experience. And that's a problem too. These two companies are different, but have two things in common. Both could benefit from diversity by mixing younger and older staff to fortify education with experience. And both of these companies desperately need help with good old-fashioned information architecture. I've been doing this work for a quarter of a century. But it's crystal clear that even today, even the most successful companies need better structural design. It's clear that to build good digital places and good cross-channel experiences, they must wrangle with taxonomies, metadata, organization, labeling, search, and navigation systems. That is the future of information architecture. Now, I'd like to say a word about the present. Our corporate and national cultures are struggling with issues of injustice, inequality, and misinformation that can't be addressed by technology alone. When the root of the problem is ethics, progress requires honesty, compassion, and courage. Now, I know you know what I'm talking about, because last year I visited the European Solidarity Center in Gdansk. Devoted to the history of solidarity, it tells the amazing story of the Polish trade union and civil resistance movement. It's the best museum I've ever visited. You know what it means to move forward with honesty, compassion, and courage. So I hope you're ready to do just that by embracing the challenge of World IA Day 2019 to design for differences in ability and disability, in access to information and technology, in language and cultural understanding, in age, gender, and identity, and in experience. After all, how we classify sentient beings into the categories of us and them lies at the heart of information architecture. So let's all help one another to be better beings and to get better at what we do. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful World IA Day.